Hi, my name is Will Winter. I'm 29 years old, and as of last week, I've been coming to Hardbat for about 1 year. To give you some context on my condition when I started here at Hardbat, growing up, I never really had issues with anxiety or any kind of mental problems, but that changed in March of 2024. I ended up passing out in a large group of people, and from that moment it was like a light switch went off in my brain, and I felt like I lost all control over my body, and my confidence in myself was shattered. This loss in confidence manifested itself for the first 2 months as everywhere I went I felt like I was lightheaded, that I was going to pass out. I had no longer control over my body. I was fortunate in this time. I got to see a cardiologist, a whole bunch of doctor visits, and they convinced me that physically I was fine and that this is most definitely, a mental thing. And once I made that realization, it was like another light switch went off in my head, and it went from being lightheaded everywhere I went to feeling sick everywhere I went. In my mind, passing out and being sick are just as bad. So for the next 8 to 10 months, my life was pretty much shut down from this. I could not go in buildings, I could not ride in cars, could not be in large groups of people. Smells, bright lights, loud noises, any kind of sensation from my gut to my throat would trigger me and send me into a panic attack. And it was kind of this vicious cycle where I would feel these things, I would think about it, and they would feel worse, and it would just get worse and worse. So within those 8 to 10 months, I started going to therapy. I opened up to my friends and coworkers about the problem I was having, and I was officially diagnosed with other specific phobia, specifically emetophobia. So emetophobia is the fear of getting sick and or seeing someone get sick. About 1 year ago, I had gotten to the point where I could exist as long as I was comfortable, but any kind of uncomfort would still give me a hard time and could trigger a panic attack. And one of these specific things was being out of breath. The sensation of breathing would set me off. So the day that I decided that I needed to make a change in my life was actually July 18th, 2025. I'll never forget it. I was at work and I took an Argo, which is a tracked vehicle, out into a marsh, and I got it stuck. And in my effort fighting through waist-high mud to get it unstuck, I gassed myself and I ended up having a panic attack out in the middle of the marsh. Luckily, my coworkers with me had a positive attitude. They were well aware of my situation and they helped me get through it. But it was on that day that I decided that I needed to make a change. So how does Hardbat tie into this? Well, earlier that year in 2025, a friend of mine who went to Hardbat invited me to Bring a Friend Day. I remember leaving Bring a Friend Day thinking, wow, that was really tough, both mentally for me and physically. And after that incident out in the marsh, I decided that I couldn't keep going on where every uncomfortable thing set me off, and I needed to put myself in a situation that was going to challenge me, and I knew Hardbat was going to challenge me. So I reached out to Hardbat, and I was upfront with them. I said, I have emetophobia. I don't know how I'm going to react in a gym setting, but all I know is I want to make a change in my life. And I was told, we can take you, and we will work at your speed, and we'll get through it. So I started doing small group sessions with Coach Sean. And Coach Sean has been absolutely amazing to work with. There were times in the gym, especially early on, when I just needed to stop and take some time to reestablish myself. And Coach Sean was great at sensing when he could push me to go harder or when he needed to let me take some time and reset. Consistency for me was really important, and Sean was also a huge help in that regard. There were days when I really didn't feel like coming in, had very low motivation, but the idea of disappointing Sean urged me to come in, and I'm very grateful for those days that I did. The community at Hardbat has been nothing but welcoming and supportive. I realized early on that everybody is just coming in trying to better their lives with dealing with their own hardships. Now that I'm a year into working out at Hardbat, my confidence has skyrocketed. Things that were mentally impossible for me a year ago are now trivial. I feel stronger, I feel more energy, I feel like I look better. But most importantly to me, I feel like I've regained my confidence in myself and I've regained that control over my body. Pretty big win for me. As of 2 months ago, I actually stopped taking my anxiety medicine. To conclude, if you find yourself out there in a similar situation to me, or even if it's a totally different situation, but you feel like you need to make that change to better your life, I would suggest Hardbat. They have certainly helped me.